Stephanie Unthank Mindfulness here, and this video today is a short video to introduce you to the 1 hour session, An Introduction to Mindfulness, and really just forms an opportunity, a bit of a beautiful segue to understanding what mindfulness is all about, how it can help us to support ourselves in our day-to-day lives, particularly focusing on how mindfulness supports us with our health and our well-being, what the benefits are, and hopefully to give you enough information in that 1 hour introduction to mindfulness for you to feel engaged enough to maybe move forward at some time when you feel ready to maybe look at something a bit deeper, maybe a little bit more lengthy in terms of taking up an opportunity to join a mindfulness program, say a 6 or an 8 week program that I often deliver. So I teach in various settings and have been for the last 7 or 8 years in terms of in educational settings, private one-to-one work, in small groups, in organisational settings across the corporate landscape and so on. And my experience tells me that, you know, a lot of people that come to mindfulness, whether it is in a really deep way or maybe just learn a little bit about some mindfulness techniques and the benefits of them, do end up being, I guess, in a situation where they find themselves being able to cope better, feeling more resilient, feeling that they are more resourced, and they have some real tools and techniques that they can lean into and use throughout the course of their lives, practice using them, get better at using them, and integrate them into their day-to-day lives, conversations, relationships with others, in order to help them to feel more supported. And really that is fundamentally, I think, one of the biggest benefits of mindfulness. When I teach mindfulness, my huge ambition, everyone, is to bring it to life in a way that is modern, is accessible, and is relatable. So if you're listening to this short introduction video today and you're thinking, I can't do mindfulness because it's too difficult for me, I can't focus, I can't concentrate, I can't pay attention for long periods of time, then let me just tell you this, that's the point. That is the point. You know, mindfulness is very much about helping us to nurture an ability to pay attention to what's happening to us in the moment, what our real experience is right here and now, in order that we can lean into it in a way that's helpful, in order that we can find a way to feel more resourced so that we can deal with that moment in a way that is more supportive, and therefore mean that we don't suffer on an ongoing basis as a result of that particular thing that we're dealing with, or that particular challenge or difficulty. So as I said, you know, this is about my ability, my experience to deliver mindfulness to you in a way that is modern, ethical in its approach, but relatable and accessible, easy to access. So again, if you're thinking that mindfulness is about sitting quietly for long periods of time in some funny yoga posture, let that go. That is not the case. The benefits of mindfulness are really significant and proven in so many studies now. A NICE report, which is the National Institution for Care Excellence, they are the biggest consultants for the NHS, that was published in March this year, and that consultation process went on for 8 months since 2021. Talks about how mindfulness should be the first go-to for those in the workplace, particularly with regards to supporting and dealing with mental health challenges. So let me just really briefly just talk to you about some of the benefits of mindfulness, and I'll list them off because I think this would be helpful for you. Firstly, as I said earlier, mindfulness helps us to build resilience. So when the chips are down and times are tough, we can feel more resourced, and we can feel ready to cope with the situation that's in front of us. And let's face it, life is full of challenges day to day, particularly right now. You know, we are going through some real change at the moment, particularly in the UK and then in the wider world. So to feel more resourced and to feel more able to cope. The second benefit for mindfulness is that there's some real health benefits in terms of our body and the way that we notice change within our body. So mindfulness really helps us to maintain balance, and the word I would use is homeostasis. Now, homeostasis is about the kind of balanced level within our body, the way that our bodies function. That would be having a sense of calm in the body. It would be around having blood pressure that's managed at a reasonable level. It's about your heart rate being also at a manageable level, so really having your heart rate at a pace and working at a pace that is healthy for us. It's certainly about reduced anxiety, the reduced risk of depression, absolutely about reducing stress, and that's because we learn how to cope and deal with stress in the moment and respond to it rather than react to it. Mindfulness certainly helps us in terms of being less in fight and flight, which is the stress response, and certainly more in a more rested rest and digest space, which is homeostasis for the body and the mind. So health benefits, health and wellbeing benefits are huge. And longer term practitioners of mindfulness also find it really useful in terms of kicking habits. So if you notice you've got habits around maybe eating or drinking consumption, maybe smoking, maybe lack of movement. So longer term mindfulness practitioners also find that mindfulness can really support them in their health and wellbeing in a much bigger way. Other things to consider: if you're having trouble sleeping, mindfulness can be beautifully supportive for those that are having trouble sleeping, and you'd learn more about that on a longer course, maybe a 6 or 8 week course, as I alluded to earlier. Relationships, our relationships can really flourish through mindfulness. We learn to become good listeners, and we learn to respond to what we're hearing in a way that is patient and calm and kind. And our relationships can really flourish from that. Interpersonal mindfulness, the way that mindfulness helps our interpersonal life, can be hugely significant. And then I'll just finish with one final thing, which is mindfulness can really help us to feel supported, right? So when we practice mindfulness, we start to become a little bit more aware of what we need. What do we need right here and now? And that level of self-compassion really starts to show up in our day-to-day lives, supporting ourselves, giving ourselves what we need to nourish our minds and our bodies. So please don't think from this short introduction video today that mindfulness is about sitting on cushions, making noises for long periods of time, going out into the wild and hugging trees. It really isn't. Mindfulness is very practical. The solution of mindfulness is very practical. It's not the panacea. It's not the fix-all for everything. But I've worked with hundreds of clients over the last 7 or 8 years. And I have to say, 99% of the time, mindfulness has been hugely significant and has really helped them to shift their life, their lifestyle, and their outlook on life in terms of the way that they cope in the day-to-day. So I really hope that this is enough for you to join me on the first step, which is an introduction to mindfulness course, and to come along just for that first hour and find out a little bit more about the benefits of mindfulness, how to integrate mindfulness into your day-to-day life, and where to begin. Thank you so much for listening.